Red pill? What was it? That's crazy. What? That's what crazy. Something. Wow. That's crazy. You just erase. Fuck. That's fuck. That's insane. Man's a serial killer. It's possible, but I don't know, man. Huh. Oh shit. Uh, Hey, what's up, Holly? How's it going? That's crazy. What's up, Darren? Can't hear it. Oh, I know why. I'll fix it. Should be over here now, I think. Yeah, it was good, man. I like the game actually.
Described them as
Okay,
omnipresent
great,
and extremely annoying. And according to the BBC, the humming noise has been linked to at least one person ending their own life in the UK.
I finished it yesterday.
However, while there are likely many legit reports of people hearing a mysterious humming, which we'll get to in a bit, many of the claims are either fake or can be explained quite easily. For instance, the metallic screeching noise could simply be from a nearby railroad with a long freight train rounding a corner and causing
I'm
vibrations.
gonna play the DLC still.
Some of these trains are incredibly lengthy and can take several minutes to pass. Similarly, in another video you can hear what sounds like an extremely loud trumpet.
Watching
The original poster of this video titled this as a judgment trumpet, referring to the divine trumpet described in the Christian faith. However, given the poor weather conditions in the footage, it's likely just a malfunctioning tornado siren, like this. A few of these videos are also outright faked, with the mysterious sounds being edited in to generate views.
a year, no.
Notice how the birds around the area appear completely unaffected by the loud, ominous noise, which would be unlikely if the sound was genuinely overwhelming the environment. Birds have sharper hearing than humans, and they would likely react. That said, there are still thousands of reports from people who can't be easily debunked or labeled as fake. Unlike the examples I've shown so far, the vast majority of seemingly authentic reports involve the persistent, low-frequency hum. This strange phenomenon seems to trace back to Bristol, England in the late 1970s. The city council received hundreds of complaints from residents about a strange noise that was audible at night. One local newspaper even asked readers in the city, However, the most plausible explanation I found suggests that these sounds are more connected to the listeners themselves rather than their surroundings. Things like hypersensitive ears and early signs of hearing issues like tinnitus could be a major contributor. Another possible reason could be the increasing levels of anxiety and stress. A BBC researcher also noted that she only heard the hum when she was exhausted and stressed out, which further supports the notion of this mysterious hum being a psychosomatic or stress-related phenomenon. During my research, I even found the video claiming to capture the strange humming sound. But when I watched it, as for each individual case, I doubt we'll get a concrete answer anytime soon. John Lang Fresno Police. On March 20th, 2000, a YouTube channel by the name Lang Marine uploaded a 3.5-minute video titled Fresno LE Harassment, Ford Crew Cab that stalked me and my residence numerous times. The video showed the same vehicle driving past the camera twice in 3 minutes. The uploader was a 51-year-old former Marine named John Lang living in Fresno, California. The video footage came from a security camera he had installed outside his home. And in the description of this video, he provided much-needed context behind the oddly disturbing encounter. According to Lang, he was critical of the way Fresno PD and Fresno Fire utilized their budgets online. So now they were stalking and harassing him in retaliation, and the Ford truck in the video belonged to either the Fresno Police Department or the Sheriff's Office. The next day, he posted another video of a man walking his dog outside his home. The video showed the dog and his owner stopping outside Lang's home for a few seconds and moving on, nothing too unusual. However, Lang claimed that the person in the video was a plainclothes police officer who was conditioning Lang's dog so that it wouldn't attack if the same officer broke into his home later. Over the next 10 or so months, Lang continued posting videos of shady activity captured by his security camera, like a guy in plain clothes coming up to his home, taking a look and walking away immediately. Or a police truck stopping outside his home for a few seconds and then driving away. However, the most disturbing of these videos showed a mysterious black van stopping outside his home, filming it with a massive camera for about 30 seconds and quickly driving away. Lang claimed that the device in their hand was a thermal imaging sensor and they were trying to determine whether or not he was home. By January of 2016, Lang was fully convinced that the Fresno police were planning an assassination. On the 16th of January, he posted a video about a cleaning company van parked outside his home. In the description of the video, he wrote, "If I turn up missing or dead tomorrow, remember this van. I think I seen a couple of guys sneak out the side door and into the building when it was parked in the carport this afternoon. I've been causing the city of Fresno a lot of problems recently, which I now regret. Unfortunately, this would be the last video Lang would post on YouTube, because just a few days later, firemen found him dead inside a burning home with multiple stab wounds on his body. This was sad news for people who were following the story. However, this was only the beginning of a much bigger conspiracy. You see, when the news of his death initially broke, the report stated that he had a few stab wounds on his upper back as well. If this were true, it would validate all of Lang's worries about getting assassinated. This would also put the Fresno PD as the #1 suspect for his murder. However, when the Fresno coroner released Lang's autopsy report, it only mentioned 3 self-inflicted stab wounds on his chest, and there was no mention of any stab wounds on his back. Was the earlier report a mistake, or were the Fresno police trying to hide their crime? This inconsistency led to tons of backlash and even a petition to reopen his case. But it remained closed. To this day, the John Lang case sits as a mystery. Was he actually getting stalked, or was he just severely mentally ill and paranoid? From my research, the answer seems to be a mix of both. First and foremost, it's worth mentioning that the Fresno police are well known for being ripe with corruption. A Reddit user mentioned a story he knew about the PD, stating, "I mean, my friend's dad was FPD for decades, and Jerry Dyer showed up with some officers and threatened him back in the late 90s, so it wouldn't surprise me if the cops were intimidating this dude." So, did the Fresno PD retaliate against Lang? Maybe. What's more likely is that Lang was getting more paranoid and losing his mind over time. From what I can see, the man walking his dog is doing just that, walking his dog, and claiming that he was somehow conditioning Lang's dog in just a couple of seconds is pretty out there. Even the suspicious van can be explained quite easily, since the device shown in the video was just a film camera on a gimbal, not some high-tech thermal imaging sensor. As for why they were shooting like that from a vehicle, they were likely indie filmmakers who just didn't have the proper permissions from the city. However, all of this is just conjecture on my part. The real evidence that proves Lang's deteriorating mental state is the fact that he turned off the cameras he had in his home a day before the incident. The last saved footage on these cameras was of him sitting with a kitchen knife in his hand. Not only that, but when the fire department arrived on the scene, all the entrances to his home were barricaded securely from the inside. If this was truly a murder, the killer wouldn't have been able to escape the crime scene without removing one of these barricades. Ultimately, if there was some big murder conspiracy behind Lang's death, I doubt we'll learn about it over 8 years later.
Man, they assassinated that dude.
Evil Stick. In November of 2014, Nicole Allen purchased a pink version of just a cute-looking character made Nicole drop her guard even further. But she couldn't have been more wrong. The thing is, the inclusion of this character on the box art suggested an Asian origin for the product. And looking back, the Evil Stick does have a small, and I do mean small, resemblance to one of the wands Sakura uses in the show. The Evil Stick was most definitely a bootleg version of a product that should have looked something like this had it been official. However, the Evil Stick was much more sinister than just being a bad product. Unlike its official counterparts, the manufacturers of the Evil Stick bootleg had free reign to do whatever they wanted. And it's what they chose to do with this freedom that was utterly disturbing. You see, the top of the wand had a shiny foil fitted in, likely to imitate the shiny star in the official wand. However, this foil was hiding an image under it, and when Nicole's daughter accidentally removed the foil while playing with the wand, she was greeted with a downright disturbing image of a creepy-looking woman slitting her own wrist. This was likely petrifying for the little girl, but that wasn't all. If you pressed the button on the wand, instead of the wonderful music it promised, the wand played a haunting laugh. This also turned on a light behind the creepy image, so the little girl would have likely seen it even if she hadn't removed the foil. When Nicole found out about the disturbing truth, she made her findings public in hopes of getting this creepy toy banned from stores. News coverage of the Evil Stick quickly went viral, but the toy remained as mysterious as it was creepy.
Did anybody ever have the Evil Stick? I ain't never heard of no Evil Stick. It's kind of weird, man.
And the disturbing image concealed within the toy was traced back to French photographer Butcher Ludwig, who appears to be a master of creating the most nightmarish artworks one can imagine. Nearly all of his work is too graphic for YouTube. For most of them, however, even a quick glance is enough to trigger your fight or flight response. As for why the gory, horror-filled work of his photograph was stolen to be included in a children's toy, no one knows for sure. The only other thing people learned about the Evil Stick after examining its package was that it was manufactured in China, and that's it. The packaging didn't have the name of the manufacturer. I even looked up the universal product code embedded in its barcode and couldn't find any relevant information through that either. This is just one of those things that really makes you wonder what other disturbing mysteries are hidden inside cheap children's toys.
That's crazy.
On May 23, 1961, two brothers inside an abandoned German bunker in Italy sat down to listen to the empty static of space. Over the years, they had pulled all kinds of strange sounds from that static. But what came through their headphones on this particular night had the potential to change the entire history of space exploration. What they heard was the voice of a woman speaking in Russian.
It was a warm October evening in Dallas, Texas. Couple Jennifer and Jamie Faith are out celebrating their 8th wedding anniversary. The pair reminisce about how they originally met on a blind date 15 years prior. Back in those days, they were both living in Phoenix, Arizona. Jamie was a technology director for American Airlines, and Jennifer was a speech pathologist. According to their friends, they had bonded fairly quickly over their shared interests, and soon enough, the couple were inseparable. They'd eloped 7 years later in Las Vegas in 2012, and in 2017, they'd relocate to Dallas after Jamie earned a big promotion. And 3 years after that, they're sitting at dinner reliving all the memories. They joke about the love book that Jennifer had made for Valentine's Day a few months prior, one that thanked Jamie for the wonderful life he had given her. Before they knew it, their special day was over, and the next one would launch them right back into their usual routine. They'd wake up early, and at approximately 7:35, they'd take their dog Maggie out for a walk. The couple considered this to be their bonding time. It was how they started their mornings, with this one being yet another perfect duplicate of countless before it. Or at least, that's how it started. By 8 a.m., police are rushing to the Oak Cliff neighborhood. They stop outside the Faith's family home, where they're greeted with a bizarre scene. From inside the cruiser, they can already hear hysterical screaming. Once they exit, they see a dog running around wildly in the street. Then they turn to the driveway towards the source of the screams. There, they find a woman lying on the ground, all bound up in duct tape. It's Jennifer. A few feet in front of her in the street, there's a man lying face down. It's Jamie, and he's not moving. The police call over an ambulance, but the paramedics pronounce him dead on the spot. He's been shot several times. When Jennifer finally calmed down enough to speak, she told investigators that a masked man had ambushed the couple just moments after they left their house. He immediately raised a gun and shot Jamie at point blank before knocking her over and binding her hands with duct tape. He apparently tried to snatch her necklace, but fled before he could rip it off once Jennifer started screaming. Considering this was during COVID, somebody wearing a face mask unfortunately wasn't much of an identifying feature, and Jennifer couldn't offer much of a physical description past labeling her attacker as medium built and having black eyes. Over the following days, Jennifer could be seen on TV giving tearful interviews, pleading for people to come forward if they had any information about her husband's murderer. It was a tragic story, and people felt genuinely awful for the new widow. One local who had been particularly touched by the heart-wrenching story had an idea as to how she could help make things a little better. She logged onto a website called GoFundMe.com, a crowdfunding platform. You can use this website to collect donations in support of pretty much anything. While many GoFundMe campaigns are centered around financing some new product or creative project, many of them are also launched to support individuals in times of need. And that's exactly what this community member had in mind when she set up a GoFundMe campaign to support Jennifer. It wouldn't take long for the fundraiser to spread around, and within a few weeks, it had raised just over $60,000. The campaign was set up under the Funerals and Memorials section, and the money was raised with the intentions of helping to pay for funeral expenses and to help Jennifer get back on her feet, as Jamie had been the sole provider for their family at the time of his death. The widow eventually withdrew $58,000 from the campaign, and it's here where things get strange. While she would organize a funeral for her husband, she'd end up leaving the more than $6,000 bill for it unpaid, despite having 10 times that amount in her savings just from the GoFundMe alone. What exactly was she planning on using the money for? Well, it wouldn't take long for investigators to start raising their eyebrows after seeing how Jen was spending her donations. She had bought an expensive large-screen TV, but not for herself. No, she had it shipped to an address in Tennessee. She also took out 2 new credit cards, both of which she also mailed to the same Tennessee address. Finally, she started sending numerous Venmo transfers to a man named Darren Lopez.
Wow.
The police would start learning whatever they could about this man. He was a US Army veteran, one who had fought in Iraq. He had been medically discharged after suffering a traumatic brain injury from a roadside bomb, which would also lead to him developing PTSD. He divorced his wife in 2018 and began living an isolated life in rural Tennessee. The authorities would discover that Darren had indeed known Jennifer. In fact, they had been high school sweethearts. This was a suspicious connection, and it only grew more so the closer investigators looked. One detail noted by witnesses at the crime scene was a Nissan Titan that had sped out of the neighborhood shortly after gunshots were heard. It had a large T decal printed on it. The police would manage to get their hands on some aerial surveillance photos of Darren's property, and sure enough, a Nissan Titan sporting a T was parked right next to his house. In January 2021, they'd arrest Darren, with investigators even finding the murder weapon stained with Jamie's blood in his house, along with the credit cards and TV that Jennifer had bought. It was damning evidence, but the case only expanded once they searched through his phone. In March 2020, just 1 month after Jennifer had made her husband a love book thanking him for the wonderful life they shared, she would reconnect with Darren over the internet. Her former boyfriend had made his first ever social media profile specifically with the intention of reconnecting with her. They began texting, which eventually escalated to over 500 messages sent per day between the pair. While on the surface everything seemed fine between Jennifer and her husband, she'd start telling Darren that behind the scenes, he had been mistreating her. She'd tell him horrible details of the supposed turmoil she suffered at the hands of her husband, with absolutely wild allegations that I can't even bring up on YouTube. Just trust me when I say it's probably worse than you're expecting. While Darren had once said he saw Jamie as a good guy, his perception would quickly shift as Jennifer continued venting to him. Things would get worse when Jamie supposedly sent the ex-lover a threatening email, complete with explicit photos of Jennifer's injuries. Soon after, Jamie would begin texting Darren similarly threatening messages on a regular basis. By October 2020, Jennifer told Darren that she began to believe her life was in danger. She'd float the idea of shooting her husband, a proposition that Darren enthusiastically accepted. He'd drive 650 miles down to Dallas and would lay in wait outside the couple's house all night, eventually getting up and pulling out his gun once he saw Jennifer and Jamie walking out the front door with their dog early in the morning.
Do you think that she really did that stuff to her, or is she making it up? I don't know, man. I couldn't tell you.
In February 2021, Jennifer would also be arrested, first for obstruction of justice after police found a text message instructing Darren to remove the decal from his car, but a few months later, she'd be indicted on interstate commission for murder for hire, a much more serious federal charge that could potentially expose her to the death penalty. She'd eventually agree to a plea deal that sentenced her to life in prison. Shockingly, during her plea hearing, she would admit that all the stories she told Lopez about the stomach-churning mistreatment she suffered at the hands of her husband were completely made up. She had even made fake accounts impersonating him and used him to send those threatening messages with the photos of her injuries being random pictures she found on the internet.
That's great.
The story had now turned from a pair of star-crossed lovers who would kill to be with each other to a woman who had spent months deceiving and emotionally manipulating a disabled veteran suffering from PTSD into becoming a murderer. The judge who ruled over her case would describe her as, quote,
pure evil.
Lopez would be sentenced to 62 years in prison, being eligible for parole after 30. Jennifer, on the other hand, will almost certainly spend the rest of her days behind bars in federal prison. Her GoFundMe campaign would be taken down after her arrest, with her donors surely disgusted with the fact that they willingly handed over their hard-earned money to such a morally bankrupt criminal. Luckily, they were able to request a refund, with GoFundMe generously eating the costs themselves, considering Jennifer had already run off with most of the money. While we don't know all the details of what happened to the funds raised in her campaign, we do know one thing. Jennifer Faith is one of the most evil individuals to ever collect donations on GoFundMe. The keywords there being one of. Everybody knows that crowdfunding platforms are rife with scams and deceitful campaigns of all kinds. After all, anybody can set up a GoFundMe page for just about anything within the terms and conditions. With it being possible to translate people's emotional investment into actual cash, it's not terribly surprising for these platforms to attract plenty of conmen. But things get much more disturbing when you get into the darker side of internet crowdfunding crimes. Jennifer's story is unfortunately not a unique one. In fact, her criminal profile almost perfectly matches that of her cruel peers who also had GoFundMe campaigns. They rely on emotional manipulation to do horrible things to others, and also to elicit sympathy from unsuspecting members of their communities. This is a very deceitful brand of criminal, and the stories about disturbing GoFundMe campaigns have a bit of a depressing and enraging edge to them. Especially this next one. Once again, our story starts with somebody leaving home to walk the dog. In this case, it's Rudy Farias. He's a 17-year-old living in Houston, Texas, and he yells out to his mom Janie to let her know he's leaving. 20 minutes passes, and Rudy should be walking through that front door any minute. But he doesn't. An hour passes, and then several more, but still, Rudy doesn't return. The single mom begins to worry. Eventually, someone does show up at the front door. But it's not Rudy. It's one of the 2 family dogs he had taken out. It apparently found its way home on its own. The next morning, Janie files a missing persons report with the police.
Alright guys, let's start playing see here. Oh man, that shit's wrong. She fucking used the disabled vet to kill her boyfriend. She faked all that shit. That's crazy, man. It's not alright. What this? What a bitch. What the fuck? Stop. Mm. Okay. See if I can get this shit to load. Yep. There we are. How do I play? Oh. Here it is. Separate ways. I just gotta fix the damn audio. Somewhere in here. What the fuck is it? Shit. Just remove this shit. Okay. Okay.
Parece que me toca bailar, hermano.
That's no way to finish a dance. Your favorite, I believe?
Excellent timing, Ada. You know how I feel about being tied up. And yes, many thanks. You see, those annoying monks took everything from me.
Including the amber?
No, cleverly hidden just before they grabbed me.
Well, then lead the way.
My pleasure. And here we go. This way.
Is it close?
Not exactly, but it's safe.
No amber, no deal. You know the terms.
We're good. We're good. What do you want with it anyway?
I don't know. Yet. We've got company. They're looking for us. but we're taking the high road. Got it?
Understood.
You come in the stream today.
Up you go, Luis.
Arriba y listo.
Stop.
Fetch the Ember. We'll meet up later.
No! Sorry, what kind of a man leaves a lady? Then we meet at the church. Let's not make it a funeral, eh?
She might whoop Leon's ass. Oh shit.
My eyes. What's
I didn't know that. I just fucking could. Right.
this is all in my head. And stay gone.
That was quick.
Control, come in. Luis hit the Amber, but I've sent him to retrieve it. Control, do you copy?
I'm listening.
Go on.
We ran into some unexpected trouble.
And? What will you do about it?
Luis is already en route to the church. I'm tracking him every step of the way.
Very well. Then I suggest you hurry.
Copy. Just need to confirm my route first. Control. Heading out to get a visual of the area.
Luis hit the Amber, but I've...
Grab the thing. Yo, what's up, man? Yeah, this is the DLC. I think he said that because I was watching those videos and my title says Resident Evil 4.
That's where I need to go.
Stick to the high ground. You have the means. Don't forget your mission. The Amber. Nothing else matters. Wrap this little tour up and bring it to me.
Understood. But maybe a little sightseeing first.
Hey, for the record, nobody talk about babies or call me weird nicknames in the chat. I had somebody call me stinking butt in the chat. It was weird. I had to, you know, I'm calling names, but it's pretty weird.
Things are heating up. I'll need to
And,
disable the
you
chemical.
know, I complimenting my baby picture. It's freaking weird. Just putting that up there. Do not be any pedophile or anything. Yeah, I saw it's not very long. I just started the DLC. But I already like it because it's, you know, it's more RE4. How can I not like it? Yes, I do not support pedophilia or, yeah, it's very weird. Alright, you can always come back tomorrow. Always. What are you doing for you? Dame will be here if you shit. Yes. Check this shit. Check this out. What's
Lights out.
like sleep first. Yeah, I don't do that. Fuck. Being me. Shit. Die. What's in here? Some elegant interest. Shiz. I have to get on this ladder here. Hey, awesome. Sit down, bitch. Oh, look at this dumb motherfucker. You idiot.